guys, and welcome back to another video. So today's video is going to be a combination of a product review and then a speed paint afterwards. So the product that I'm talking about, I was sent in the mail, so this one came to me free, but beyond that, all of my opinions are my own. But I was really excited to be contacted about this new light box because it is kind of a step up from my old one. My old one was very thick, which is okay in certain circumstances, but it's nice to have one that's really thin so it is just streamlined with my desk. So that was one of the benefits, but I was just really excited about getting this new one and trying it out and talking to you guys about some of the things to look for when you're looking for light boxes and some of the benefits of light boxes, because I use them a lot and they are really great. But the light box in question is actually from the company Litup. So you can see me unboxing it and going through it and everything. I will say though, when I first received this, it actually came with the wrong cord. It did not come with a US cord. It came with a European cord, I think, and then a converter for the UK, I think. It was not American, so I did have to get another cord sent to me, which is kind of annoying, but in the end it was sorted out and it does work and everything plugs in. But yeah, that part was a little frustrating, but the light box itself is super thin. I mean, this thing is amazing. I know that I'm showing it down there too, but like, it's just so narrow, which it was surprising once I started working on it and doing the light box, like how much of a difference it made. Because that one that was really thick, it's a different process. So like everything else that I'm drawing and painting, it's flat with the table, it's flush. So when I'm doing the light box, it's like a different sensation of having my wrist in a different position. So once I was able to do it in a more normal way as far as how I normally work, it just kind of felt a little bit more streamlined with everything else, and it was just surprising. It's not that it was a huge pain on my hand to have it elevated, but this is just, it feels a lot more like the way it's supposed to be. But yeah, and it's cool too because it, like, the light shines out of the side too when you light it up, which I like. But how you use it is really cool. Is that it has a power button and you tap it to turn it off and you tap it to turn it on, and then you hold it down and it will gradually light up, and then if you release it and then hold it down again, it'll gradually lower the lightness, and that way you can really fine-tune exactly how bright you want it to be. This one goes really bright, which is awesome because I use really thick watercolor papers, so this one had no problem shining through it. And I know it looks really weird at some points where it looks like the light is striating. That is just on the camera, and when I turn it up to like the full brightness on this, you don't see it in the camera either. So I'm gonna have to remember that when I do anything with this light box, is to turn it all the way up. But yeah, when you're looking at it in real life, it's a totally solid light, which is also a big benefit because this is LED. You get a completely even light source throughout the whole thing, whereas my old one, it was an incandescent light bulb, so it did have a center point that was the most bright, and then the areas beyond it was less bright. And I did actually try a slightly different method when I was using the light box today than what I normally do, and what I did is I did more layers of sketching with the light box. And the reason why I'm kind of really excited about this is because when I'm sketching digitally, I can create as many layers on top as I need to. I can lower the opacities of the sketches before them. That way, by the end, I have a very refined sketch that I can get exactly the way I want it to. And in my traditional sketches, I definitely feel like there's always been this barrier for me being able to refine it the way that I want it to. Paper can only accept so much erasing, and this is something that I haven't really given the time or the thought to, but I would really like to do more refined sketches with the light box so I can do more layers on top. And the cool thing about this is that in many ways where like digitally where I can pivot an arm if it's in the wrong position, I can do that by using the light box. By using multiple layers, I can take that and just pivot it and then redraw the hand in the way that it's supposed to be. So yeah, I think that I'll be able to get a lot more enjoyment out of my sketches if I'm using a light box, so that I can get it really refined in the way that I have it imagined rather than in the way that the paper is requiring me to do. So I will definitely be doing more of that, where I'm just refining it out a lot more. So this one, I did actually end up doing the first rough sketch, then one more refined sketch on top of that, and then I ended up doing line work onto the watercolor paper with pencil first, which is also something very different that I don't normally do. Usually I will go straight with the ink on top of the light box while I'm working on it. But today I decided that I wanted to put the pencil on the paper first because I felt like I just wasn't quite getting the same energy, and I felt like the light and everything, it was getting a little bit lost. So I did end up sketching that out first, taking it off, and then inking it, and I felt way better about that process. So I think I'll probably be doing that a lot more in the future too, because it was just a lot easier to see where the intention of the lines were when it's on the actual paper as opposed to below it. Even with a light box, it's still, there's a certain degree of separation between the sketch and the final. So I think that I'll definitely get back into that more. I really liked being able to just work on the final paper and see that right there where I wanted to do it. And while I was doing that second level of refinement on this one, I started out with the blue pencil, which was the same color as that initial sketch, and then I decided I wanted to switch to red so that it would be a little bit more apparent and clear. And once I was done looking at it, at this like refined sketch that I had, where like part of it was blue and it was actually really just rough and the line work was all blunt and hard, and I actually really liked that. I liked the ability of not worrying about the sketch being this perfect image or something that I needed to preserve the quality of. When I am nervous about wanting to keep my sketches looking nice, I find that the final product is a lot more reserved because I'm holding myself back, even subconsciously, just by looking at it and by not letting myself really just tear into it. So I've noticed that I'm getting a lot more hands-on with my sketches. I'm not afraid of getting them dirty, getting them messed up, and I'm really enjoying that liberation of being able to just manipulate it the way that I want it to. And looking at it, it does look super messy and great, and I feel really great about moving in that direction of making it the way that I want it to. And my sketchbooks actually are just, they are not like this beautiful book that's filled with beautiful sketches and it's all intact. I actually end up like tearing up my sketchbooks a ton. I'll use the paper, I'll sketch things out and then rip those out to use them on other stuff. So I find that when I'm letting myself not look at my sketches like they're these precious things, I get a lot better ideas out of it. I get a lot more enjoyment out of it. And in the end, the final products are pretty much always way, way better. And the ink that I used to line work is the Higgins Black Magic, and I'll have a link down below, and I'll have a link to all the brushes and everything that I use, including my paint and my palette down below, so if you want to check that out, it's there. But as for the painting, I was really excited to get back into color and do something that's a little bit more refined for my watercolor piece. This one, I wanted to do one that was kind of almost complementary colors, so I didn't want it to be quite on the nose. I wanted it to be this red and green look, but because I went with very blue-green for the green areas and the red was this really like poppy pink color, it's actually Quinacradone rose if you're curious, but that's a great way to use complementary colors if you don't want it to be just like so direct on top of it, is that you can give them hints of another color so that they lean one way just a little bit, so they're not exactly perfect, but they have that complementary look to it. They play off each other, especially for red and green, because that's one of those colors that they look so good together. I mean, just like all the other complementary colors, they look amazing together, but because they're so strongly referenced as Christmas, a lot of times it can be hard to wrap your head around making a piece that is made with those complementary colors without it looking Christmassy. So that's a great way to do it. You can do like blue-green and have the complement being a red-orange. That just takes it just a little bit off from being Christmas, but still has that spark and that look of what you're looking for as far as red and green. So that's one thing that I like to do a lot, is play with complementary colors so that they're not exact, but they're just almost there, that they still have the contrast so that they still pop out. And this red streaking up her hand is one of my favorite details. I love finding details like this that I can put into pieces so that they give that spark of uniqueness and a story to them. And I'm trying a lot more to think of those things as I'm creating these pieces so that I don't end up with just pieces that are almost there, whereas I can find these little elements like the veins in her hands and the little bit on her face. I feel like that just pushes it just a little bit over the edge so that it is where I want it to be, and it has a little bit more spark of an interest and a story. And I did want to put the moon in the background, which I eventually get to, and that was one of my favorite parts to paint. It was really fun. I've actually misplaced my circle drawer, but it is a great tool, so I'll still have that linked below if you're curious, that draws any size of shape. But this one I had to find a plate and sketch out very lightly, but I used my red coal erase pencil for that, so that it would match what I was going to do the color below, so you wouldn't even see the line after it was done. And I did this really nice gradient. Well, I first went through with just a nice solid Quinacradone rose color coating for the background, and then after I dried it out with my heat gun, I went in with a much more sharp and saturated Quinacradone rose from right underneath the moon that faded down, and that just really made it pop, and it gave it that depth that I want. And I love adding gradients like that to watercolor because it really is it's very easy to implement, but it adds so much depth while still being kind of subtle, and I really love adding variation like that within watercolor. But that is pretty much it for today's video. I will have a link down below if you want to check out the Lightbox. I am actually super happy with this one. It is super bright. It's very lightweight and extremely portable, so it's super easy for me to like bring it from one area to another area because I work in a lot of different like desk spaces in my house. So this is a huge step up for me from the last one, so I'm really loving it. But yeah, if you want to check this out, there's a link down below, and I also have a link to all the other tools that I've used, like I mentioned, in the description. And as usual, the original is also available, so if you want to own her, she is available at my shop. There's a link right in the corner of the video to my shop, as well as down in the description at the very bottom of the description. But yes, she is available. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. That is pretty much it for today's video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.